Hey everybody, welcome to Music Effect Design. We're already laughing. It's going to be a good day. Welcome to Music Effect Design. My name is Jordan Pittner. I'm one of your hosts today from Phoenix, Arizona.
My name is Mike Kruger. I'm up here in Cleveland, Ohio. Excited to be talking here with Tajari today.
My name is Holly Paxton. I am from Phoenix, Arizona, and I'm excited to talk with Tajari.
I too am excited to talk to Tajari.
We're all excited.
If you missed our announcement last week, it's just been a weird time to be discussing marching band and like how to clean things. Like we're passionate about that, of course, but I don't know. It just felt hollow with the way things are. So we've canceled our Wednesday events for the foreseeable future because we wanted to just invite people to our platform and just listen to what they have to say. And I'm really excited for our first guest today to come in and join us. He's a good friend to all of us, but also he's been just a great voice in the last few weeks. So Tajari, if you'd like to introduce yourself.
Hey everybody, all cool cat. No. My name is Tajari Goins. I am a producer, musician, singer-songwriter, DJ, educator, symphonian. I got a laundry list of stuff that I do. I am the CEO of Smart Boy Beatz LLC. I go by Smart Boy when I am in my producing DJing element. And I've known these great folks for a few years now. They are some really, really great friends of mine. And I'm honored to be here today. Thank you guys for having me so much.
It's good to have you, man.
Absolutely. It really is.
Thank you. It's good to see y'all, just like in general. Like I know, like we're just so everybody knows, we're actual friends. They didn't like pay me to do this or anything like that. Like we're actual friends. We love each other. We've been around each other. We see eye to eye on so many issues, man. So like, it's really for me, it's really an honor just to be here and be a part of this team. So like, once again, thank you guys for real.
Yeah, man. And while we're doing a peek behind the curtain, Tajari was also a big motor in us getting this started and showing us the ropes through some of the live producing techniques, creating our intro music. He did a lot for us kind of going in. So, man, you've been busy lately.
Man, yeah. Both on Zoom and off of Zoom. It's a whole. There's a whole lot happening. Good stuff and like some stuff that's sort of like transitional and scary, but yeah, I've been really busy, man. Zoom. I want an endorsement by Zoom because I feel like I'm on a Zoom call every day.
Seriously, man.
All of us. We just need like a small little payout. But yeah, man, a lot's happening on the music side of things. In the process of starting. I'm in a producer collective, and we're in the process of mobilizing and getting some things together so that we can offer some services to other artists and producers. Still, one of the in-house producers at Patchwork Studios here in Atlanta. I finished up my year and a half of teaching at Carver High School in May, late May. We finished that up. Oh my God, it's June.
That's so crazy.
That happened.
Right. And yeah, it's been a day. And then I have a few clients that I actually make music for, mix, record, write for. So like trying to like get all of that going in this little stew has just been like keeping me busy. But I kind of wouldn't want it any other way. It's better to be busy than to like just be sitting around twiddling my thumbs. And also I know we're gonna get into it, but also it helps me to keep my mind off of some of the things that happen. It helps me like channel energy and channel what I'm feeling into what I'm doing. So
right.
What subject do you teach again?
When I taught at Carver, I taught chorus and music tech. So some days we did like AB schedule. So A days would be chorus, where we like music theory, songs, getting, and then like getting to graduate. Our school has like a tradition of graduation songs or whatever. So like it's like a mix of popular songs that we all mash up together. We rewrite the lyrics for like graduation theme, and then we perform it at graduation together on top of the school's alma mater and lift every voice sing. And then on the B days, I would have my music technology class, which is essentially music production. And like I said, I'm a producer, so you can imagine that was my best day, like because I got to sit around and make beats all day, or teach people how to make beats all day. That was the thing.
Yeah.
Right.
And so yeah, that was great. That was great. Being able to just really refine my craft and also teach while I'm doing it. So
Right. Well, on top of all the producing things you do now, and just all the work that you do, I know you kind of come from the marching arts community. You've spent a lot of time there. So share with us a little bit about, kind of what you've done, where you've come from to get you where you are now.
Well, I didn't say this earlier in my intro, but I am from the very tiny town of Aberdeen, North Carolina. There's like 3 towns in that one, not in Aberdeen, but like it's like Aberdeen, Southern Pines, Pinehurst, and like they all consider it one. But obviously there's like lines drawn or whatever. But I'm from Aberdeen, was born and raised there. I grew up playing music in church or whatever. My brothers were the musicians, my mom sang, so that's where I picked up the whole singing thing. I was in choir. And then fast forward to middle school, I wanted to be in the band. I wanted to play percussion because my brother played drums, so I wanted to be in a group, be accepted and everything. So like I joined band, and my director saw a lot of potential in me even in 6th grade. So like I stuck with it, played snare and bass drum and like all the other percussion instruments. We even I think we were his inaugural like drum line or whatever. It was drum line, so we were the first ones to like have like a little drum line. We played at all the basketball games and everything. So that was really fun. Fast forward to high school. Drumline there as well. Picked up a few more instruments while I was in high school, marching band all throughout. Went to college, again, marching band just was like life. And then on top of like studying my discipline, which was percussion, and majored in music education with an emphasis in percussion. Also, while I was in college, I was able to become the drum major of the Spirit of the Carolinas marching band down at the University of North Carolina at Pembroke. So that was fun. I was honestly, being a drum major was one of the things that sort of like broke me out of my shell and like made me open up more as a musician and made me open up more as a person. And then going through college, and then after college, I started working with these fine folks at Fred Day Miller. We would do the summer camps together. I did that for 3 years. Even then, I was sort of creating mixes and like mixing music and producing for some of the staff members there that asked me to do so, and DJ and our little get together at the end of the year.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was fun, teaching marching band with these people, and just having that, just being in marching band period. Oh yeah, I did march a season or a partial season with Carolina Gold Drum and Bugle Corps.
Oh, cool.
Oh yeah.
BCA drum corps. So shout out to Carolina Gold. That was really, really fun. I've always wanted to do drum corps, man. Crown was like one of my favorite groups, along with Phantom Regiment and Blue Devils, of course.
Yeah.
But that's a big price tag. You know what I mean?
Oh my gosh.
Right.
Really big price tag. Oh yeah. Also, going along with the marching arts too, I was also able to play with the Carolina Panthers drum line. Little joke I do. I always tell people I play for the Carolina Panthers, and I just stop right there.
Nice.
They're like, "Oh, you play for the Carolina Panthers?" And I was like, I'm a little thick too. So they were like, "Oh, you must have played a little bit of football." Somewhere. Yeah, like, yeah.
Hey, you look like you could be a famous football player. I get
I
it.
was on the D line. I was on the D line. That's all they called me. It works. It works. As long as nobody really knows, it works. So yeah, that was fun. Like I love marching band. I love the marching arts. It's really been that inclusive group that I needed. You know what I mean? Growing up, just being able, because so many people. I'm pretty sure so many people have the same story. Like I was very much an introvert, very much a quiet child growing up. But when I got to marching band and when I was able to express myself through music and the marching arts and, be around different people who had similar stories and similar experiences and, we suffered trauma together, went through this together, out in the sun, baking together, you know what I mean? All of that brought us together, you know what I mean? Shared trauma, and trauma is not always a bad word, but shared trauma always brings people together. So I cannot thank the marching arts enough for molding me into the person that I am.
Mm-hmm. Well said. I'm hoping that through these interviews that we have, I'm hoping the potential outcome is we can identify some of the problems, some of the biases, just some of the fundamental things that happen in the marching arts without people like us even noticing it a lot of times. So I'd love to hear what your experience is as a person of color in the marching arts, like the good, the bad, just whatever is on your mind about that, because I think that could be really eye-opening for all of us.
Luckily, my experiences have been few and far between, but it's always a sprinkle. You know what I mean? It's always I hate calling them like the terms that people have sort of like created, but like microaggressions or
Sure.
whatever it is. But there's always a touch. You know what I mean? There's always a like, not you this time because this person needs to, or, oh, we need you on this instrument because no one else can, or you know what I mean? And, or like, oh, we're going to have you guys over here and then everyone else is going to go over there. And then you're looking like, wait a minute, was that intentional or did it just happen that way?
Right.
And then without being like too specific, because I don't want to like blackball anybody or whatever, but throughout my experience in the marching arts, it was for me like when I was in it, I didn't realize it because I was surrounded by my passion and the people that cared about me. Like I formed so many close relationships with, never mattered what color they were, what creed they were, what ethnicity they were. I mean, we're all human. You know what I mean? So like that's where I come at it. But like the fact that I had a different set of opportunities than people who didn't look like me was very obvious. It was very, very obvious. Not even just from a color standpoint, but from a financial standpoint. There were people who were privy to a lot more opportunities just because they could pay for it, or they could pay for the equipment to do the audition, or they could pay for the travel, they could pay the airfare, they could pay for this summer camp. And because they were able to pay for that summer camp, in the eyes of my instructors or in the eyes of the people who were teaching, they were in a better situation than I would ever be. You know what I mean? Right. And this was before like YouTube exploded with like tutorials and how-tos and really in-depth type of things. You know what I mean? Because nowadays you can learn anything by studying YouTube and Googling. You know what I mean? And you could back then, but now it's a lot more detailed because, like, number one, we're all in the house, and number two, like, just how much you can monetize that stuff is like it's a thing now. You know what I mean?
Right.
But Yeah, it's strange. It's really, really strange. You know what I mean? But I always tried my hardest to break those barriers. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I always tried no matter when they flared up, or no matter when I saw it happening blatantly in front of my face. I tried my hardest to sort of break that wall down, or just tough through it, because that's what we're. And I mean, when I say me, I mean Black people and like my family. That's what we were taught to do. You don't cause a stink, because if you cause a stink, then you're seen as a threat, or you're seen as like being too erratic, or too this or too that. You take it on the chin, and when it's time to address it, you address it. And then we all know by then it's like, oh no, I didn't mean that. I didn't know. You know what I mean? And then too, when you're young and you're chasing after something and it's being dangled over your head like a carrot, you don't want to rock the boat too much, because you've seen what happens when people rock the boat. I know I'm talking a lot, but just specifically, when I was in school, I would see certain individuals rock the boat. I would watch them do it, and depending on what they looked like, the response was different. It was always about, you so and so rocked the boat like this, but they were still able to go forward with little to any tension. But other person rocked the boat the same exact way, or kicked up against it the same exact way, but it was met with, oh no, you can't. You're defiant. You're rude. You're disrespectful. You did this. In that case, we're gonna put you second chair instead of first chair, even though your audition was better. Yeah, and I mean, I understand, but that doesn't make it right.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Just like anything, we understand how America works. We understand how the world works. We understand how associations and groups and seniority and all of that stuff works. We all get it, right? But it's those types of things that have brought us to our knees. You know what I mean? It's those types of things that have taken shots at self-esteem. You know what I mean? Like, and especially in the place where we're told and we're taught that, like, this is an all-inclusive space. We love everyone here. This is like, this is it. This is the place where you belong. And then to be met with, you belong here, but you don't belong here. You belong here, but you can't do that here. You belong here, but if you get a little too excited, then you're being ratchet, or you're being too loud, or like, we're gonna have to call your parents, or we're gonna have to do something. We're gonna have to call campus police or whatever. You know what I'm saying? So I've had my experiences, and I wanted to say real quick shout out to all of those like adults in my life who used what they were taught against me to make themselves feel better. Because everything you said, I've kind of defied. I've kind of like worked through it and worked past it to be successful. I literally had a teacher. Crazy enough, I turned into one, but I literally had a teacher tell me that I would never be in a classroom, that I would never be able to teach. I would never get a degree in music education. Never. You know what I mean? And not even to my face. Well, sometimes not even to my face. It was told to my face, and then after I graduated, it was said again while I wasn't there, because I still heard the story. You know what I mean? Like, so there, I mean, it's always, the saying, it's not what they call you, it's what you answer to. But it still chips away at your self-esteem, whether you answer to it or not, because it's whether it's directed at you. It's directed at you, and it's directed at you. Or people move a certain way around you because they don't want to poke the bear, or you get angry really fast. So that was a long response to.
Yeah, it baffles me that there's still teachers that are saying such like you won't be this, you won't do this. It's like, I feel like it's none of the like I hear so many personal stories about that, and but I've never had one of those teachers. Oh, I guess I have just one, but like it just still baffles me that they exist. Like, oh, you're never going to be a good music teacher. You're never going to do this, and I don't know. It just baffles me how teachers are so influential and then say things like
Right.
that bring people down.
And it shocks me too, because it's like you're in a position to mold the mind of a young person. So if you're using your power to mold this person's mind to something that like is detrimental to them, then what are you really doing? What are you really doing to them? You know what I mean? We have these big talks about like supremacy and prejudice and racism and this, that, and the third, but I wholeheartedly believe that it's taught to us. You know,
Yeah.
It's literally rhetoric being taught to us, being indoctrinated in us, and every day it's a thing of you should believe this, you should believe this, you should believe this, and if it's your teacher, and especially if like a grade or something depends on it, you know, it's like a dangling the carrot, like, oh, you're not gonna pass this class unless you know X, Y, Z. Well, I do know X, Y, Z, but it wasn't to your standard, so in your eyes, I didn't know. Well, you can retake this, or you can retake that, but you're never gonna pass this class. You're never gonna this. You're never gonna that. It's like, okay, okay, you know what I mean? So
yeah,
it's hard for me. And I mean, this stuff just blows my mind because, you know, Tajari, I've seen you teach and I've heard you play, and I know, you know, we know the great things you do. And so, I mean, like, there's no excuse to be told those things. And it's hard for me to relate sometimes because, like, I was never told something like that. And which goes to prove your point even more in many ways. You know, one of my first memories of you, Tajari, was 4 years ago. And it was around this time in our first week of Dayton at Wright State, Camp 1 that we did. And you had these group of student leaders who really liked you a lot, who wore your Smart Boy shirts. You remember that?
Oh,
and because they remembered you from the year before,
yeah.
And they came back and they were so happy you were back. I mean, they were thrilled that you were back, and they had the Smart Boy gear. And I remember how meaningful that was. One of the things that I've always found very appealing and I've respected a lot about you is your ability to relate and talk to so many people, and especially students.
Right.
So where I'm kind of going with this is, a lot of times I, like myself, and I can't speak for others, but like, I'm not always aware of what to look for if a student's in need, or if they're being treated that way, or how to help them. And so, like, what can we do? What can teachers do to look out for their students? And for that sense, what resources do students have? I mean, you know?
I mean, I know they have a lot more than like we had when we were growing up. I'm sure they have like a ton more resources and people to talk to now, and like social groups and whatever. But I was fortunate enough, this is gonna sound weird. I was fortunate enough to be that quiet kid in the back that no one paid attention to. I was fortunate enough to be that person who would hide literally all of their emotions, because at the time they were too raw to deal with. They were too hard to deal with. So I would bury them. I would make a joke. I would, you know, make fun of myself. I would laugh at everybody. I would be the happy person, you know what I mean? And a lot of times, while, you know, our lives as teachers could be so busy, that we're focused on looking at everything or looking for something that might go wrong, that we miss all of the things that are going right, but have like an issue underlying, you know?
Right.
I've taught students who were like happy every day. They would skip, they would come, you know what I mean? They would just be like, oh my God, I'm so happy to see you, you know? And then like, there would be a moment in the day where things would get bad, and then they bounce back just like that. And me, the person in me, because like I know what that feels like. You know, I would like grab onto that reaction and just put it away until like later on. You know, and then I wouldn't like talk to them like or dig heavy into it when I got the opportunity to talk to them. I would just ask them, "Hey, you okay? Everything good? All right, just making sure." And that would be my little dig every day. That would be like me taking the spoon at the concrete wall, just like, "You okay? You okay? You okay?" You know, and like, cool. Maybe it did get annoying, but the one day that that whole thing was me establishing barrier of trust. Like, I'm more than just your teacher, right? I'm more than just somebody that you have to get a grade from. I'm in a way I'm here for you. They hired me for, if they didn't hire me for anything else, they hired me because they needed somebody that would be here for you. You know? So as a teacher, I just encourage everybody to like really assess the people that are the happiest and the ones that seem like the lowest, or the quiet ones, the ones who always do their work, the ones who always turn everything in on time. You know what I mean? It's not always like, oh, I want to be an overachiever. Sometimes it's like, I get abused at home. So if I don't turn in my homework and it's not a 100 and it's not a 90 or it's not a this or it's not a that, then I go home and I get abused. Or if I don't sing correctly, if I don't learn how to sing like this, my family won't include me when they sing this or when they do this. If I don't, you know, and again, I've been through that. If I don't fit this mold if I don't fit this perfect little mold, then like what I have to deal with outside of your classroom is going to affect me so much more than what I'm dealing with right now. So we have to be it's exhausting work, but as teachers we really just have to be diligent. We have to be like super duper diligent.
But I think a lot of what you just said, the idea. Sorry, there's something going on. Someone's constructing something. A lot of what you just said about like the traits of great educators, or like, you know, reaching out, talking to their students, building that trust and that rapport. So that way, the one day we ask them, "Hey, are you okay?" and they actually answer no, you can be there. Like, that makes a lot of sense. I think in many ways that's kind of what the world's missing.
Yeah.
Right now. I mean, so outside of marching band, I mean, because in teaching, I mean, there's a lot of problems right now, right? And there have been for a long time.
Yeah.
It's more people are aware right now. So we've been talking about marching band. I want to just kind of maybe just get your thoughts on the world a little bit, if that's something you would like to talk about.
Yeah. We're seeing, in my opinion, the effects of what happens when you don't take the garbage out for a long time. We're seeing the effects of a wound that was covered with a Band-Aid for like eternity. We're seeing the effects of grass not being cut. And I'm saying all of these simple things because for whatever reason, everything I'm seeing on social media and like, you know, politics and all of this stuff, we want to make it like huge concepts and like, oh my God, we can't possibly understand these things. It's like, no, go 3 months without cutting your grass. Or like some of us have, go 3 months without cutting your hair. What happens? Go 3 months without taking care of your skin. Go 3 months without brushing your teeth. Go 3 months ignoring a serious problem and watch what happens. You know what I mean? Go years without go years knowing something's wrong and not doing anything about it because it doesn't affect you in the moment at that time. Go years without doing it and then watch how it affects you later on. You know what I mean? We all know the effects of fast food, but Chick-fil-A is very, very good. And Taco Bell is amazing. You know what I mean? Like, we all know the effects of the things that will hurt us or will come back to haunt us, but because it doesn't present a clear and present danger in our face at that moment, we put it on the back burner, or we decide like, I'll deal with it tomorrow. I'll deal with it tomorrow. I'll deal with it next week. I'll deal with it when it presents itself as a problem. But we all know if we do that, by then it's too late. Imagine if we didn't have that week of planning, of training at FJM and went right into Wright State 1. Imagine that. Y'all know how crazy Wright State 1 is.
Yes.
Just imagine if the admins weren't trained. Imagine if the staff weren't trained. Imagine if Lauren just said, you know what? We'll be fine. We did the same thing last year. We'll just go in and, do the same thing, right?
Man.
Yeah.
Right.
No new theme, no planning, no whatever. And like you've already had people like pay their money or, schedule time for this and that and third, like, and that's another thing too. A lot of us have like put our lives in certain places and we try to carve out pieces of our life so that it fits within a certain thing, just to be told like, oh no, we're gonna keep doing it the way we've been doing it because it works, no matter how hard you've worked to like fit the mold. Nah, not exactly. We're gonna go this direction, because this direction has been working. So this new thing that you're talking about doing, we're gonna do this, and that's what I'm seeing. And like I said, we're taught to do this stuff, right? We're taught to brush our teeth twice a day. We're taught to wash our hands for 20 seconds. We're taught to do all of this stuff because someone told us that's what we're supposed to do, right? A good example is the milk campaign. We're told to drink milk, right? You gotta have a glass of milk, but it was a propaganda tool, right?
Mm-hmm.
It had so much milk left over, they had to get rid of it. So what I'm saying? It's all being spoon fed to it, and especially with social media now, it's easy to believe everything that you see.
Right.
When sometimes it's not true. I tell everybody, you have to do your research, and you have to get your information from credible sources, because any monkey, any person, any duck, any whatever could post an article about whatever, and somebody's gonna believe it, either to troll or to like make their point. You know what I mean? And that's dangerous, because sometimes your point isn't correct. Sometimes you're missing the point. It was very disheartening to see a lot of people I consider close friends and family and all of this, people of different ethnicities that I've called brother, that I've said I loved you, that I've been there for, that I've gotten accidents with, we've been marching band with, we're brothers in Symphonia and all of that stuff. So many people just like spout their ignorance online, and it's like, we were beside each other when the cop questioned me and not you. We were beside each other when I got threatened, but you didn't. We were there when you had to speak up because you didn't look like me, so they trusted your judgment above mine. You were there. You saw this, but because this is comfortable to you, because you don't know any other life, or you haven't experienced any other life, maybe like a little touch here or there, but that's not your day-to-day, out of sight, out of mind. You don't see it the way I see it, and you can't possibly feel it the way I feel it. So you just don't, and that's detrimental, bro. You guys know that's detrimental to all of us. It's perspective, but like at this point, we're gonna have to use perspective and empathy to sort of come to some sort of common ground.
I think one of the most frustrating parts, this has come to like popular conversation pretty often over the last, who knows, like century. Like every couple years there's like a, hey, things aren't going well, things aren't equal, and it's like there's always, they tend to be older, tend to be white, and they're like, well, we'll just keep trying to work on it. We'll keep trying to fix it. But then when we finally come up with solutions that are like in writing, in law, they're like, oh, that's too much, too harsh, too soon. Like that's not possible. Like I teach elementary school music, and one of the things that's big right now is like there's a lot of songs that used to be like minstrel songs and like very popular in the Jim Crow era that just became part of the folk music vernacular. And people are like, oh, well, it's history now. It's part of our folk. It's like it's been 100 years, maybe. Like we can get rid of these
Right.
things. It's okay to just like chop it off and make the call and say no, we're not doing this anymore. Versus like, oh well, we'll just let some people start doing the right thing, and we'll get there eventually.
Yeah, and it's like I said, it's what we were taught. It's our history. When we really dig into it and really, really look at it, it's so messed up. It's things that if it happened to your dog, you would be like, who could do that to an animal?
Right.
How could you treat people like that animal? You know, how could you treat people like animals? But when you see a puppy or like see Sarah McLachlan on TV, you're like, oh my God. But like, yeah, that's happened to actual people. So where's the line of people and dogs? Or where's the line of of your sympathy? Where is it? You know, it's really sad to watch people like believe their own rhetoric, believe that, oh no, this is our history, so we got to keep it going. But in the same breath scream, oh no, but I care about you. Oh no, Black Lives Matter. But can we keep our Confederate statue? Can we keep our Confederate flag? That we lost, but can we? It's like a kid begging for a toy in the store, and the parents clearly like, no, we can't afford it. We can't afford this. No, we can't do this right now. We can't do this. The kids like throwing a tantrum, getting mad, and throwing everything around, and like, hey, you're doing more damage by trying to keep yourself comfortable than trying to progress and move forward. Just imagine if we were still doing, if we were still like treating certain things the way we treated them 10 years ago, 20 years ago, 30 years ago.
Right.
Not race or people or anything like that. Just haircuts, fashion, cars, all the things that we interact with on a daily basis. Even education. I haven't even seen a textbook. They don't use textbooks anymore, bro. There's a tablet. They give the kid a laptop. We had books. I had heavy books, very, very heavy books in high school. Yeah. We don't even do that anymore. So if that can evolve, why can't we evolve with it? You know? Right. And again, we're all about Black Lives Matter right now. We're all about Black this, Black that. Yes, all of that. But at the end of the day, can we do something to make this stick? Right. You know, can we do something that makes sure everyone's represented, especially the Black people? No one's saying all lives or whatever doesn't matter, but it's one thing we've ignored the leg for a long time. You know what I mean? We're saying like the whole body matters, everybody's important, cool. But you know what I'm saying? Here's a good one. I don't want to make this like racially motivated or whatever, but everybody knows like the African Americans, the Black kids are usually the kids on the drum line, right? Everybody knows that. There's, of course, depending on the area, depends. But a lot of the Black kids usually go into the drum line. They like the rhythm, they like the drums, they like to be loud, whatever. That's your space, or the tuba section. But the battery, the percussion, the low section is the one that's ignored the most. We sit in that, we don't do anything, but we're the first ones to get yelled at. Yeah. Ignore a problem until it's time to use it. And then when it doesn't move or doesn't operate as fast or as efficiently as you think it should, you want to get upset with it instead of going to address the actual issue. So that's the easiest thing to do is get upset. The easiest thing to do is shoot you with a rubber bullet. The easiest thing for us to do is to throw tear gas at the issue, throw money at the issue, throw a kente cloth on it and say, yeah, we did it. That's the easiest thing to do. But who's gonna actually get off of the podium, go back to the battery section and say, hey, this is what I need from you guys. Can we all be in agreement? Can we all do this? Cool. Let's run it one more time just for you guys. from the top.
Right.
You know what I mean? Those were the moments in marching band. Those were the moments where when I was in an ensemble that I felt like I actually belonged. That I felt like, you know, someone cared about us, because the narrative is nobody cares about the battery section. You guys are just the rhythm. Make sure the winds are on. Make sure the piccolos can hear you from all the way back there. Make sure make sure this is happening. Make sure that is happening. The framework is always there, but no one's ever actually like going to check on the frame. Want to make sure like the pulse is okay. Make sure, you know what I mean? Making sure like they understand what's going on. It's just always expected. Just like, you know, during those Jim Crow times and slavery times and all of that, Black people were expected to act a certain way in public. Black people were expected to move a certain way. You know, I saw a post that one of my colleagues shared that said, if your parents ever told you never to drive with the interior light on, then you need to go vote. So in my head, I'm like, wow, I've heard that before, but it's actually a thing. I have to do some more research on what it actually is, but it's a thing that if you're a person of color driving with your interior light on, you're more likely to get pulled over. You know what I mean? If you're a person of color, period, you're more likely to get pulled over. But
wow.
That's neither here nor there. But it's all of those like small little things that just make this mountain so huge. That, and then when it's put in front of our face, it's like, oh no, that's ridiculous. That's not it.
Right.
Then, you know, how hard is it for you to spend your whole time, or spend all your time working on a project, or spend your whole time crafting a show, and you're like, man, everything's perfect. This is here, this, just for somebody to tell you, yeah, we're gonna pick a different arranger.
Right.
The day of, right? It is one of those like pro bono, like they'll pay you after or whatever. Yeah.
Man.
You know, you say it's a lot of small things, and that's what creates a big problem, right?
Yeah.
Tons and tons of small things, and it's all the and I don't say small because I don't want to diminish anything. I'm just like, but like my fear is like, I remember when Black Lives Matter, like when that first kind of started like being said back around Michael Brown when he was shot and killed in Ferguson, and that was close to where I had grown up, and so that was the first time I was kind of ever brought to attention of like awareness of like kind of what was actually going on. But I remember that lasting for a couple months, and people were aware, and then it died, and then it fizzled, and then another incident, and then it fizzles, and then another, and then it fizzles, and it's like it's like for so many of us who are white, I think a lot of us think, oh, it's just one time this big thing, but between there's millions of things that happen. Yeah. But the biggest thing I'm afraid is that after George Floyd's murder, and is that it lasts for a couple months and then it dies out again. It fizzles. That's my
fear too, man. Keep going.
No, but go ahead. Just jump on in.
That's a big fear of mine too. It really doesn't take a rocket scientist to Google and like just look at. You can see that even Netflix has sort of put like a lot of documentaries to the forefront just so you can see. You know what I mean? Right. A lot of what we're seeing now is sort of similar to what happened in 1992 with the LA riots and the Rodney King thing. Like a lot of it is like super similar, and like I'm looking at that and I'm looking at it right now. I'm like, oh man, you know. And that's, I will say, I sort of got disheartened the other day seeing my timeline sort of go back to what the norm was, because that's what we do. You know, social media has made it easy for us to ride trends, ride them till the wheels fall off, and then hop on the next trend. You know, it's so easy. The next hashtag, or the next person that passes away, or the next the next this, or the next that, or the next pair of shoes. Like it's to me, it's so wild that we can go from literally murder hashtag to like a new pair of shoes, to like a song, to like new clothes, to another murder, to another, like so quickly. And it's like, okay, cool. I understand like social media is supposed to be fun and it's supposed to be the thing that like, you know, it's supposed to be a break from the normal life, but like, when are we gonna like really stop and take a second to realize that there's a huge problem out here? There's a big problem in the world, specifically targeted at Black people. And like, I really despise the rhetoric that like nobody else matters but Black people. Like, no. We're saying, and of course, like, it's there's a death. Like, you Google a death clock. People die in this world every day. People die every. I think a child is born every 8 seconds, or somebody dies every 10 or something like that.
Right.
It's inevitable, right? But that doesn't mean we're ignoring that someone has passed away or someone else has been gunned down by the hands of the police. Nobody's saying that. You know, it was hard for me too, because at the same time that the George Floyd thing was happening, a friend of mine, her mother got punched in the face by the police for I'm not sure exactly what it was, but they weren't harming anything. They were just like upset at something, and the police just turned around and clocked her in the face. And like, it's like, wow, man, like, okay, cool. Like, George Floyd has passed away, and now people are getting beat up just because, or, you know, because they're angry, or like somebody can't, you know, control their rage, or they're trying to, you know. But I think people are just really, really tired. People are exhausted and they're tired of rolling over. You know what I mean? Like I told my stories earlier, like we've had to just take things on the chin. We've had to just next time. No. My Echo Dot was trying to.
Trying to give its opinion.
Right, for real. We always had to take things on the chin and just like say, wait for the next one. You know what I mean? But we really have to focus on like why these things are happening, and not so much the actual physical thing that we saw leading up to it, or the physical thing that we saw that happened. You know what I mean? Or else, Mike, it will be another thing that happens in This one's huge though, and like thank God for Corona in a sense, because like we were all at home. We didn't have anything else to really pay attention to, and there was it was like a perfect storm of like negligence from the top down. You know what I mean? And we're all seeing it play out in front of our faces. We're all watching the people that are just like, oh, no, it's not that. Oh, no, it's not that. Oh, no, it's not that. We're literally watching them say no while also watching it happen. You know? And like, if you ever seen that as a child, it makes you distrust your parents a little bit. It makes you distrust adults a little bit. Like the whole do as I say, not as I do type of thing.
Right.
How are you going to tell me not to take a shot and you just took 4? Like, come on, man. Like, how? Like, it's those simple like ideals that like play into the bigger issues that we're seeing. You know, and those are the things that's going to keep us down here. Those are the things that's going to keep us in this cycle, Mike. Like, I don't want to see another George Floyd, Tamir Rice, Trayvon Martin, Breonna, I forgot her last name. Taylor,
Taylor.
I don't want to see that. And it's we're really trying to let the rest of America know that like Black people are literally dying for doing the everyday things that you do. Living, walking, jogging, breathing, like all of these
sleeping.
Like we're dying because of those things, and not because. And like I posted a status like this isn't good versus bad. This is like an internal thing that the people that are put in these positions have to unlearn, so that they can expand their brain and do something different. Right? Because if all you know is the thing that's going to make it the easiest route for you, you're going to keep doing that. It's easy to pull you over and take you to jail than it is for me to pull you over, question you about something, have you get upset at me, I get upset at you, we go back and forth, we figure out a solution, and then I go along. That's hard. That's different. I got something else to do. I got other things. I got bigger fish to fry. I'm going to go I want to make it home. Like, you don't think somebody else want to make it home? I've heard that argument so many times. Like, well, cops are scared because they just want to make it home. Those are the only people that want to make it home. Everybody wants to make it home. Nobody wants to die. Everybody wants to see their family. Everybody wants to be a part of this thing we call life. But it is not the same for everybody. The experience of living here isn't the same everywhere. You know what I mean? And until it is, you're gonna continue to see these things. And Mike, I hate to say it, we might see another one before like it actually
changes. Yeah.
I don't want to, but we might. That's the reality of the situation, because too many people, especially in our field, guys, like too many people are comfortable with the way things work.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And we've seen it. We've seen it. We see it everywhere. We see it in all the other organizations we're involved with. We're comfortable in what we're in now. So moving or like challenging the status quo is just way, way, way too much for us to comprehend right now. So, you know, we'll just wait for the next one. If the next one goes crazy, then like we'll do something then. But let's, you know, I want to keep this money in my pocket.
I gotta tell you, I felt like a fool earlier this year. I read Malcolm Gladwell's book, Talking to Strangers, and it frames this woman who moved from Illinois to Texas because the cops kept discriminating against her, and her first experience in Texas was a cop pulling her over and taking her to jail, and she took her life because of it. And it's a lot. I highly recommend the book though, because the whole idea is that we don't trust what we don't understand. If I could distill 300 pages into one sentence, that's essentially what it is. So I'll ask you a big question, only because you're a big thinker. Like, I think you and I probably agree that the probable solution or outcome, I guess I should say, the probable outcome of this is probably not, oh, nobody has racial biases anymore, the world is, everything's solved, right? That's probably not the outcome of all of this. What do you think is a good, like, how could we come out of this with a good outcome or with a good result? What would that mean? Does that make sense?
Yeah. And like, I don't know why it's raining in Atlanta right now. It's 76 and raining. Why are they cutting grass? And I'm sorry. So if that's what if y'all can hear that, then like,
it's just a light hum.
The outcome, for me, a positive outcome would be people that aren't Black being hyper aware and hypersensitive to racist prejudice, discrimination, like when they smell it. You know what I mean? Like the second you sense it, you feel it. It doesn't matter if it happened or not. And I think people need to like really understand that, because we all want to be cool. At the end of the day, this is a big high school. We all just want to be cool around our friends. We all just want to be seen a certain way in front of the public eye. But we never want to be seen as the person who overreacts, or the person who's too loud, or the person who's, you know, super sensitive or cries about everything or whatever, because that person's no fun. But the thing that I would want for all of my white friends and all of my people that aren't Black, I really want everybody to just be super sensitive, super hypersensitive. Do your research. It's literally in front of your face now. Now it's in front of your face, but it has been in front of your face for years. Now, granted, depending on where you lived and depending on what kind of education you got, you might have never seen any of this in the history book, because that's the thing. I don't know if y'all know that, but that's the thing. Certain parts of history have been cut out of history books based on the demographic. If I run a school of all white kids, and I'm selling you this history book that's telling you the history of slavery, if I'm teaching an all black school, and like teaching an all black school in the South owned by a white man, and like this book is literally telling you all the terrible things that white people have done. You think I'm gonna buy that? No. Let's buy this one. This one's a little happier. This one's, you know what I mean?
Right.
We have to be combats over all of that stuff. We gotta be diligent. We gotta be right there. We gotta be like Batman. You know what I'm saying? But don't even wait for the signal. Just be right there. So the second that anybody feels called out, misplaced, you're there to defend them. I would also I would want people to have more conversations like this. You know what I mean? Like, I've known these guys for years. This is like the first conversation that we've had about this, because just like they see me as a human, I see them as human beings as well, right? And it's not that they were they neglected it, or they did, or it's not that they neglected it. They just didn't see it from my point of view, you know. And now they do. And even before we recorded this conversation, we've already had these conversations. You know, we talked about it. We walked through it. They asked me about my experiences. They've asked me about my Facebook posts. They've asked me about like how I felt when I was working at FJM. They asked me all of these questions, and that's how we heal. We got to know that like everybody's going through something different. We got to know that like people see these things differently. You know what I mean? And it's hard to be a black person in a whole room of white people, and it's hard to be understood in that area. You know what I mean? Because like most people, we just attribute what we see to a stereotype that we know, because in our brains, that's easier for us to comprehend than to try and get a new concept, right? That's why it's still freaky to me that people get amazed when they see that black people like anime, or black people like Star Wars, or black people like this, or black people like that. It's like, we're normal. Hey, how you doing? We like regular stuff too. Not all of us like rap music and loud this and loud that. Some of us like peace and quiet. Some of us were raised in the country. Some of us were raised right next to Klan members, or people that were racist or whatever. But some of us lived in separate houses, but were friends, you know what I mean? But had to part ways because the parents didn't agree. Like, those are the conversations that you got to have. Like, did you ever have a friend when you were younger that, do you guys still talk? You know what I mean? Like, conversations, and trying to not so much sympathize, but understand, you know? Because I feel like a lot of people that aren't black feel like they have to do something, or they got to do whatever, but that wears off. You know what I mean? But what won't wear off is establishing some sort of emotional connection, establishing some sort of ground, some sort of foundation. And I say foundation because in order to have anything solid built on top, you got to have a solid foundation. You know, you got to start from the bottom. You got to start from, act like you don't even know the person. Ask them, okay, so what happened to you? That's a loaded question right there for any black person. That's a loaded question. Yo, what happened? Do you have any experiences? Did you feel a certain way? Have I ever done anything? And I'll tell you, I'll be completely candid if I may. We don't want an apology. We don't want an apology. We're good. We've heard all the apologies, because as soon as George Floyd died, like our inboxes were full. Oh, I'm so sorry. Oh, I'm good on the apology. I need you to do something else. I need you to go out and like really assess your life, your comforts, the things that have made your life is easy, your family, every relationship you've been in, all of that, all of your biases, all of the things that you like. Think about why you like those things. Think about what what connection you have to those things. And you might realize that some of it might be tied racially. Some of those traditions that your family do, that they do might not be the most tolerable to everybody. Some of those family cookouts and family gatherings that you invited your black friends to might not have been the most comfortable. Not because you invited them, but because someone who's not as open as you were, as the immediate family was, might have said something to them. You know what I mean? We need conversation. We need understanding. We need mobilization too. We need like people to vote. We need people to go out and really understand what's happening and what has happened for years. It's all inside jobs, folks. And the only way you're gonna know how to fix it is to get inside. But if you're just on the outside, like, oh man, it looks so bad over there. Oh man, maybe I should adopt somebody. Oh no, you got to get your hands dirty, and it's dirty work. Mm-hmm. Hey, we've been in it for years. You got to get your hands dirty.
One of the most maybe not helpful things that I've seen floating around the internet has just been, especially for white people looking to reflect on their own actions and moving forward. It starts with sort of like assessing your reactions to things. Like your first reaction is what's been taught to you. It's what your family taught you. It's what society taught you. But it's your second thought and your first action that's the more important thing. Like I've noticed that I've become more aware of like, have I just thought something? Do I actually believe that? No, I don't. What am I going to do? Am I going to go with my more prejudiced, instinct-based off of what I grew up learning versus what I know now and what I know is the right thing? And I think that's a really good step for a lot of people, is just thinking about what your first thought is and is your second thought the same thing? And if it's the same thing, then think about, or have you grown as a person, and are you assessing what you internalized growing up? And I think that can make a really big impact in a lot of ways, especially like for teachers and adults who work with students. Like, am I punishing this kid for talking too much? But am I equally punishing another kid that looks different? Like, or am I, just things like that. I think are really important for people in a leadership role, whether it's, a teacher or a band director or a staff member at a program. Am I providing equal opportunities, and are your instincts to just checking your instincts, I guess.
Yeah, you got the whole, we all know because we're musicians, the whole 10,000 hours thing. It takes 10,000 hours to learn a skill and develop it into a habit. We've had 10,000 tons of hours to develop our reactions, right? We've had tons of hours to develop how we move in certain ways, right? And for some of us, we say if it's something that's not as good for us as it is, like it's taken us that same amount of time to unlearn it. You know what I mean? So that might be the thing. That might be the thing. I really like that. Like, what's your reaction? Your first one, like, and I think, Holly, that takes a level of cognition that a lot of people aren't comfortable with, because they know it is. They know what it is. They just don't want to address it, because I don't want to feel this way. If I feel this way, then I am this way. You felt that way already. Running from it is just the confirmation that you should probably work on it. Yeah, that's all I had to say about that.
One thing that's on my mind as hearing all this is, we know that there's always, not always, I mean, I don't want to say there's always going to be, but they're the folks who remain silent, who won't say anything, and they're the folks like who are really, who might not ever want to change their opinions and thoughts and be willing to grow. And to me, that's sometimes like the most scary thing, because you don't even know that person might be thinking that way.
Right.
And so I can think of like a family member or two, generally a little bit older, who I don't know if I could ever get through to, or anyone ever could, by having conversation.
Right.
And so I think that's one of the things I keep thinking is, how do we get how do people who seem completely unaware, the people who post Facebook statuses that are like, what is going on in their mind? And if they're doing that publicly, what's going on privately, right? So how do we get folks, especially like just white people who don't seem to care, to get better or think about it? How do we try to get how do we get them to actually try to grow and realize? Because it seems like until so many more people become more aware and are willing to talk to themselves about the hard questions and be able to like get past their own fears, it seems like until that happens, that it's going to be hard to not have more incidents, because so many people secretly aren't on board, right? So I guess how do we reach out? How do we make that change? Any ideas?
I would say to just keep putting it in their face.
Okay.
That's marching band. Again, like, hey, set 5 wasn't right. Run it again.
Right.
Set 5 still isn't right. Wins. We're making a triangle. This is a square. Run it again. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We learn through repetition already. You know, Mike, I would say just continue to put it in their face until they cannot possibly unsee it, and have the conversation with them too. Why do you believe it? What is this based on? And if they say their parents taught them, that's where it is. Well,
Right.
Why do you think they taught you this?
Right.
Do you see that this is an issue? Because a lot of people just can't see that as an issue, bro. And a lot of times they've benefited financially, emotionally, or spiritually from staying that way. So for you to come in, especially if they're older, and tell them that like, no, that doesn't work, or no, that's not the right way, they're gonna feel challenged. Especially if you throw Jesus into the conversation, they're gonna feel challenged, and they're gonna want to fight you over it. It's like, I don't want to fight you over it. I don't want an argument. I need you to understand where I'm coming from. I need you to see where I'm coming from. I need you to understand that what you, your friends, our family has been doing for years has been wrong to this demographic of people. You've wronged these black people by your actions. You've benefited off of the backs of these black people by your actions.
Right.
Come on, man. Who else built the country? Who else like you needed help, so you went and got it, or stole it, or you know, did what you did with it, brought it back, and you know, we helped build the country, dog. We were here. We fought wars. We made our own civilizations and everything like that. And you know, even when that happened, it wasn't good enough. You know, I really think like you have to continually put it in their face, put the facts in their face. Don't give them anything emotional. And this fight, I can't stress this enough. It's very, very emotional for black people, but it shouldn't be so emotional for white people. It shouldn't be. It should be solely based on facts. It should be solely based on things that have actually happened. Your actual experience of seeing, well, my mom did such and such when my black friend came over, so I know personally that XYZ. The more you like, like the better the situation will get. But like when we let up, or when the hashtag goes away, or when they're not seeing it on CNN, or when they're not seeing it in their faces anymore, or when they only focus on the reaction and not the emotion behind the reaction, that's when we lose them, right? But because just like people are sort of focusing on the riots and I don't know about you, I haven't seen any more like things about riots and burning stuff down.
Right.
You know, just want to throw that out there. But if that's the narrative that media and social media wants to put in front of people's faces, because it's easy for them to escape the emotional attachment to those things, they're going to go on with that. Yeah. It's easy to blame it on the cop. It's easy to say, oh, no, it's good cops. There's good cops out there. You're avoiding the issue. You're avoiding the problem. We're not saying that he's not a good cop. We're saying that he made a very, very horrible decision to stand there and watch it happen with that bad cop. We're saying that the oath he took caused him to stand there and let some injustice happen. The oath that the organization that they were a part of told them, you got to do this or else you'll lose your job. Mike, and I get it. It's hard. It's really, really hard when your family depends on you to bring, when you're the breadwinner for your family, or when you're the sole provider, or when everything just depends on you, your livelihood. It's hard to make a decision between having a paycheck or being like labeled while you're working for the rest of your life. You know what I mean? And I'm pretty sure it's real tough for like a lot of black cops, you know. But luckily, we're in Atlanta where, I'm in Atlanta where a lot of the police officers here are black, and they're not afraid to like come off of their post and just have a conversation. I've seen so many videos pop up of these cops just having conversations about why things are happening and what other ways, you know what I mean? And like everything that's happening, especially on my end, is peaceful. They want you to see the riots and the this and the that and whatever. And like, you got to be careful because some of this stuff is old footage from years ago. And it's not even relevant now, but we got to be careful. We got to be diligent, but like, we really have to go at this fight emotionally. You know, we got to, and mentally, we have to go at it at their head. And like, I don't care about what you think is happening. This is what's actually happening, and it's internal. It's inside of you, and we have to break that. And when we break that, we can start to move forward. But until then, until your first reaction isn't call the police, until your first reaction isn't run away, until your first reaction isn't to say, "Oh, that's ghetto," until your first reaction isn't the things you've been taught or the thing that you want to say because it sounds cool around your friends, we'll see this again. We'll see it time and time again. You know, it's a dangerous cycle, but we can break it if we really want to. You know, again, money's powerful. Influence is powerful. All of these things are the reason why we can't like really, really get there. Some people really want to be on top. Some people really want that position, you know, but what's more important? What's really more important, especially and on our level too? Like, what's more important? Our relationship as father and son, mother, son, or whatever. Our family relationship, our relationship with the people who live next door to us, our relationship with the people who shop in the same places that we do. What's more important? Is that more important, or is us hanging on to our financial stability, us hanging on to our traditions, us hanging on to what's just been done? Is that more important? You know, we see it time and time again throughout history. When LGBTQ had to fight the same battle, the women had to fight the same battle. We're all fighting the same battle, but it's fixed for certain people. It's fixed for certain facets, and we have to tackle those things head on. I mean, everybody's been liberated, but when everybody's been liberated and black people have come to the rescue of everyone that's been liberated, but there's something about when it's time for black people to be liberated or time for us to fight for equality, it's like, whoa.
Right.
Whoa. All right, calm down a little bit, okay? Don't light anything on fire. Don't turn over any buildings, okay? It's like, we that's not even where we were headed, but okay, cool. You know?
Right. I've I am definitely in the guilty party of thinking that my one voice doesn't matter so much, Tajari, when you talk about keep on people, keep going. And this whole thing has really opened my eyes to the fact that if I am actively, you know, I used to be very quiet when somebody in my family would say something that was insensitive or ignorant, you know, about thugs in Chicago or some nonsense. And I used to be very quiet about that. But what I've realized, you know, and this is, you're going to be like, yeah, no shit, dude. But
my bad. Just want to interject real quick.
yeah.
We also have to be cognizant of the way the way the media and everyone else is trying to rebrand racism. What else are you going to think of when you hear the word thug? Don't worry, I'll wait.
Right.
What rapper had Thug Life tattooed on his belly? You know what I mean? Like, we got to be cognizant of how things are starting to be rebranded. So it's like, so it's comfortable for everybody to hear, but
Mhm.
not like
Right.
blatant disrespect. You know what I'm saying?
You're
My
right.
bad.
No, you're absolutely right though. Yeah. So I don't know. Holly and I had a good discussion last night about NASCAR. Have you seen all the things that NASCAR is doing?
I
They're
have not.
they're being
NASCAR's been
extremely
like
extremely
awesome.
progressive. Yeah.
It's
Wow,
like
really?
the opposite of what most of us would
NASCAR.
think.
I believe they are now banning audience members from bringing Confederate flags into the stadiums. They stopped all the engines and had their one single black NASCAR driver at like the top level come
Wow.
on and like say something to the audience and to all the people in their cars about Black Lives Matter. And it had me thinking how like if these racist people can't have NASCAR and they can't have Thanksgiving dinner without somebody like us like not calling them out on their nonsense, like
Right.
it's got to make a difference. I think you're absolutely right.
Just imagine if like black people took away all of the contributions. Just imagine.
Yeah, right.
What would you watch on Sunday? Don't worry, I'll wait. What, hockey?
I was like, what do you watch on Sunday?
What are you gonna watch on
'Cause
Sunday?
I don't watch.
Imagine if every black player left the football league. Imagine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
It'd be like 5 people per team, or it'd be like
It'd be like 10
okay,
quarterbacks.
So, you know what I mean? But the other thing that like we need to make sure we push for is not just making sure like we let the black guy get up and have a couple of words because it's a hot button topic right now. We got to make sure he gets his time to shine a little bit, but we got to make sure like black people end up in leadership positions with these organizations. Cool, NASCAR, you let the one black driver say something. All right, so now the whole board of NASCAR needs to be revamped. Everybody needs to have a psychological evaluation and need to take some tests and like figure out this and figure out that. And everyone in that office needs to be diligent. You know what I mean? They need to bring in more people of color to be on a lot of these leadership boards so that when something is off color, somebody can say, hey, that's racist. Hey, that could be presumptuous. Right. Hey, let's rework that so it works for everybody. You know what I'm saying? Let's make sure everyone's represented here. Let's make sure people have everyone has a voice. Even if, you know what I mean? Like we love stereotypes. Stereotypes are comedy. We want to like keep these things. We can keep some of them. We can keep some of them, but what we don't see and what we don't notice is how detrimental it is to the communities that it affects, the communities that it talks to, because there are uneducated people out here who take those jokes, take those comedy skits and apply them to their regular life, who've probably never met black people before. And when they see one, they're like, oh yeah, you're the guy from TV that does look. Can you do a dance for me? Like, I don't have rhythm. Like, you know what I mean? But you wouldn't even know that if you didn't take the time to get to know somebody that doesn't look like you. You know what I mean? But yeah, I mean, it's a whole system. It's a whole system of things that needs to be overthrown. But we as people have more power than we think. But it's so comfortable to not use that power because we know if we use that power, then of course something's going to come back on us, or something's going to come back that might not be so comfortable to us, might not be so easy to deal with. But you can only build muscle by breaking it down first. There's like, if you're trying to build muscle and just like, go about the same way, it's not going to happen. You gotta feel the burn. No pun intended. You have to feel these things hurt. You have to really sit with these emotions and let them burn deep into your heart. Jordan knows what I'm talking about. And when you do, that's when a change can happen. That's when you'll start to think completely different. Like like I said, I love breaking down like all of these like big things to like super duper small concepts, because for some reason when we break them down to like the smallest concept, it's like, that's what that is, I didn't understand that when I was younger. I didn't understand that, but now I do. Like, so, man, yeah, I forgot where I was going with that whole point. But
I get that.
We have a ton of work to do.
Yeah.
Yep.
And if we want to do it, it'll get done. But if we want to stay comfortable, we'll see another George Floyd. I just hope that it's not. I hope that it doesn't take a close friend of any of ours, of anybody's, being the victim for us to really realize, like, oh man, this is a problem. Oh man, I should have never. Oh man, I should have. Then it's too late. We don't want to wait too late. We want to wait for everything else, but like we want to. It's comfortable to wait too late. Everybody loves to procrastinate because it makes us feel that much better about ourselves in that moment, up until it's due.
Right.
Up until the assignment is due. Up until your bills are due. Up until, and then you're panicking, you're freaking out. You're like, oh man, how am I gonna? You could have planned for this. You could have avoided this way, way long ago. But we have to learn to be uncomfortable. If we can protest for a haircut, if we can have guns in officers' faces for haircuts in parks, buildings, and all of these material things that don't matter, then we can do it for Black people. We can do it for marginalized people. We can do it for anybody. We did it for the gays. I mean, LGBTQ. I'm sorry. We did it for women's suffrage, women's right to vote. Let's let the Black people have some. Let's do it for the Black people this time. And let's not stop until we see that things are actually moving. Right. We don't need any more representation. We don't want to see any more Black characters being portrayed. Okay, cool. We'll get to that. But like, we need actual change happening. We need people's minds to change. We need people's perception of us to change.
Yeah.
Because imagine if you guys never open up to me. Imagine if I never opened up to you. You know what I mean? Who would have thought that like we'd be here in 2020? Who would have thought? We weren't thinking about this when we were outside sweating, or up at 2 a.m. trying to get a conducting piece together. Like, we weren't thinking about this right now. You know what I mean? We didn't know somebody was going to. But now that we know that it's a possibility, we have to prepare for it. We have to make sure we're doing everything we can, everything that we can. I love that poem that Lauren read a few years ago, The People Around You.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, bro, I love that poem.
Absolutely.
It's deep.
That poem is one of my favorites. There's two lines in there. What is it? Everyone has something they run from and something they run to.
Yeah.
And I think that's something that we're missing a lot. Maybe is the idea of like those two lines. I love that poem too, Tajari. Those two lines though kind of indicate the idea of empathy.
Yeah.
And understanding people and being able to take the time to understand that like your worldview that you have individually is not the actual worldview. There's so much more. Man.
There's so much more. I think
I learned a lot today.
That's a scary thing too. The fact that there is so much more freaks people out.
Right.
Mike, if what we know right now could be just life, if we could pause life where it is right now and like everything that we need would just be replenished, you know what I mean? Like whatever amount we got in our bank account would just be replenished, right? We won't have to worry about, we can make ends meet with this or our jobs or our relationships or whatever. If we could pause life where it is, and a lot of us would be set right here in this moment. Or think about, or if you, maybe not this moment, a moment in life where like things were perfect. Things were going just as you wanted them. If you could wake up and do that day, every day, we would. That's comfortable. But that's not how life works. But now that we know, and now that we are like super duper hyper aware, stay that way. We can stay that way and still live. You're not overreacting. I hope that's a message for like everyone out there that's fighting. You're not overreacting. you're justified in your reaction because no one understands. No one gets it. This is your moment to make them get it. This is your moment to help them understand. You know, this is it.
Yeah.
You know, this is it. If
Yeah.
if we're always about like moments in life and waiting for this and waiting for that, like this is one of the ones where you're going to be asked about it down the road. Well, you remember 2020 when such and such happened? What'd you do? What happened? How did you react? You know, and if your kids ask you about that, if your friends ask you about that, when you get older, and like, what was your contribution? Like, what are you gonna say? What can you say? You know, I used my voice for good. I sat down and had so many conversations with so many people that I just would have never talked to before, would have never tried to get their experience before. And you don't have to be cheesy when you have these conversations too. Like, I want to know your experience, black man. Like, get out of here. Like, we establish the relationship, and then you can go anywhere from there. Everybody knows, man, relationships rule the world. Relationships are how these people have been able to keep this system of racism for so long. Relationships. If I have 4 kids, 2 of them are women, so they'll never be president. I've taught them they're women. They belong in the house. They'll never be president. They'll never be of this. And I have 2 sons, one of which is like one of which does everything the way that I know to do. He follows me. He does everything that I ask him to do. He doesn't fight back. He doesn't do anything. And I have another son who's like more liberal in his thoughts, and he goes his own way. And I'm gonna go because because it's comfortable for me. I'm gonna go with the thing that's gonna keep it the way that I know it to be, right? That's how this thing has happened for years.
I see what you mean.
We're gonna keep this going because it's worked, and because there's gonna be little to no fight against it. There's gonna be little to no resistance. I mean, my other children might be upset at daddy, but you know what? My other child, that's daddy's boy who lives and die by my word. He's gonna make sure things are handled. He's gonna make sure things are right. He's gonna make sure that my legacy is honored. He's gonna make sure that my statue stands up even if we do lose this war. He's gonna make sure, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah, the
path of we got to get off of that path of least resistance. You know, it's not benefiting us at all. If we want to grow. Now, if we don't want to grow, then again, like I said, sad enough, y'all, we will see this again. We'll be on a Zoom call having the same conversation. You know, we'll see it again. But if we really want to change, if we really want to be better, we just have to take some of the things that we do in our regular life, with our groups, with our organizations, with our bands, with our choirs, with our families. We got to take some of those things and start to spread them out to the world. We got to start to spread them out to how we operate in the world, and that's the only way we're going to get better. You know, like, if it's not right, do it again. It's not right, up, do it again. Up, you missed your step off, do it again. It's gonna suck. Please understand, it's gonna suck. I'm sorry. Can I say that? It's gonna suck.
You can say
that because it will.
It's gonna suck so bad. Be ready for it. It's gonna suck so bad. You're gonna be in the sun for so long. You're only gonna get 2 water breaks. You're gonna run out. Water's gonna get on your flip book. You're not gonna be able to read it. You're gonna miss your step off. You're gonna be out of breath by the time this show is over. But the standing ovation is gonna be amazing. I'm telling you. I'm like, because there's nothing like more beautiful than like a really like well executed show, because everybody's on the same page, everybody's moving the same, everybody's emotion is the same, everybody's drive is the same. And once we get there, we can like see, we'll appreciate it a lot more too, because we work to get there.
Absolutely.
And if it's not going to be overnight. It's not going to be a one size fits all, fix all type of thing. Like, come on, man. We're educators. We're designers. We understand what it takes to get something perfect. And even when we feel it's perfect, we know it's not going to be. So we work even harder to make it that way. You know what I mean? Like I commend all of you guys, but especially Mike. I read his Facebook post the other day about a review that he got from one of his students from NDC. And I'm not sure. Did we work together 3 years? Did we work together that first year when you were?
My first year as director. In 17, 18, yeah.
Yeah. So he posted one of his student reviews or whatever, and I saw it and I was like, oh man, like now think about if Mike would have taken that one review and just been like, well, he's right. You know, I'm gonna sit back. I'm not gonna put any more into it. I'm just gonna like, you know, keep doing things the way I've been doing them, and hopefully a change will come. No, right. He took that review, sat on it, thought about it, and the next year he did something completely different. He might have done some of the same things, but he took some of what was good, some of what was bad, reworked it, and then he had a brand new season. Year after that, he did the same thing. You know what I mean? And that's the only way things can get better. You know what I'm saying? But yeah.
Well, at the core of that, and I think that this relates to worldly problems, was that I was ashamed that a student could feel so lonely and lost, even if they're right or wrong, doesn't matter. I was ashamed that they could feel that and not be able to tell me that in person when I had 10 hours of open door. You know, my doors are open for 10 hours a week and stuff. And what I mean by that is the problem wasn't their feeling. The problem was the fact that we couldn't have a conversation to help them. And that's what hurts.
Yeah.
That's what's hard about that. And that's what hurts, I think, a lot about, I think it's what's hard about what's going on with so many people who don't understand, like, Black Lives Matter is like, they don't seem to understand that it's not even just every single little thing. It's how you're making them feel. It's the fact that people don't feel like they can approach and talk to you and have a conversation. So it's not even, at that point, it's not even the individual item. It's the fact that you're so distant that you aren't even worth trying to talk to. And that is just not acceptable. And so, you know, and that ties into empathy, and that ties into so many things that we've been talking about we've been talking, I think I've lost track of time, I think like an hour and a half. It's been great. But like that's a lot of times that's what this comes down to. It's like, it's not worth letting other lives get worse and you just do nothing.
Right.
Like, it's just not worth it.
Right.
So yeah, I mean, so that's where that came from. Yeah, was the fact that someone felt so bad and hurt. So I can't even imagine what the Black community feels. I don't.
I will say it's similar. It's similar. Like, I never felt like you guys didn't understand, but you know, as going through life, and a lot of times it's based on other experiences. Sometimes we just feel like we can't say anything. Because you won't understand, or you'll see it as something different, or I didn't feel comfortable enough talking to you about what's really going on with me. You know what I mean? But I'm sure, because I know you, I'm sure you made an adjustment to how you carried yourself that year. So the next year, none of those students felt that way.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't seen anything like that for 2 years now. But that's because we talked about it.
Yeah.
I mean, those things, I wasn't afraid, you know, we're not afraid to talk about hard situations, but I think that's also part of what our job is as just people, is it's okay to have real conversations that are hard. And being transparent and being honest is usually going to be the best route, because it's going to let people know how you actually feel. So you don't just have a random conversation and it doesn't actually mean anything.
Right.
You know, you need to be honest. Right. So I don't really know what to say now.
You're on the right track, man. You're on the right track. It's those hard conversations that'll help us. It's those hard conversations that'll break down those muscles so that we can build them right back up the right way. It's those conversations that'll make us grow. And we can't run from it, especially nowadays. We can try, but it's going to be in your face. And you know, I attribute anger sometimes to like an emotion that somebody's trying to, avoid.
Mhm.
If I get angry enough, you're gonna stop talking to me about it. Right. But that's another, we were talking earlier about like signs as teachers, like that's another thing. People aren't mad just to be mad. Nobody's ever mad just because. There's so many underlying issues, and I was fortunate enough to work in like a low-income neighborhood where there was a lot of trauma. When I got to know those people, I got to know those students, they weren't mad at me. They weren't cursing at me. They were cursing the situation that they went through that morning before getting to school. They were cursing the fact that they couldn't take a shower, that they couldn't eat last night, that they couldn't afford like the simplest of simple things. They were mad at that. And that is what I tackled, not them, the person. I didn't send them to the principal's office. I said, you know what? Have your time. When you're ready, let's talk about it.
Yeah.
Because I know it's not me. It's not me. But let's talk about it. It's something that looks like me though. It's something that I did resembles your trauma and you're lashing out at that. That's what it is. Let's tackle that. Because when we tackle that, and I get close enough for you to be able to like open up to me so we can tackle that, we'll grow. We'll be better. Tomorrow will be 10 times better. Or maybe not tomorrow, but like the next year when you come in, you'll thank me for having that conversation.
Yeah. Man. Hey, thanks for coming on.
Yeah.
Thanks for having me. I hope I didn't like make myself sound too ignorant or like I hope I didn't speak too much because like I get passionate sometimes when I'm talking about stuff like this because like I just there's a lot and like there's a lot of experiences. There's a whole lot like there's a whole and then like too I think times like this make Black people reflect on all the times that they might have missed something or missed something that was like, wait a minute. Like, I posted a status about me and my brother getting pulled over and how the cop that didn't pull the cop, another cop came from out of nowhere and yanked my brother out of the car. Didn't Mirandize him, slammed him against the car, put him in the back, took him to jail. I was a minor, still sitting on the side of the road. College, a professor threatened to call campus police on me because she thought I was disrupting her class. But it wasn't me. It was her favorite student. He just happened to be white. He was making another girl laugh, and she saw me like in my laptop, and she was like, Tajari, you're disrupting my class. You need to leave. I'm like, I'm not going anywhere. I didn't do anything. I will call campus police and have them escort you out. Like everyone froze. You know what I mean? Like things like that. And you guys know me. I'm nice. Real nice. I'm one of the nicest people that you'll ever meet. But like small things like that, reflecting, like this time has caused me to reflect on it, and we're all in the house, stuck in the house. So like, of course, like you have time to reflect. And like some of your Black friends might be very sensitive at the moment. Some of your Black friends might be very like triggered by literally everything. It's not you. It's not you. It's all the trauma that sort of had your similar shape and figure that has scared them, right? So, but when you can establish that relationship and break that wall and actually talk to them about it, you'll realize it's not you. Mm-hmm. You realize it's not you. It's bigger. Everything is so much bigger than like what we actually physically see. Yeah.
At some point,
I feel like that's been every conversation.
It's hard to follow up.
This is why we wanted to talk with you, Tajari. Yeah. And when we say talk with you, really, this is why we wanted to be able to let you talk to everyone. Right. And it's not our place to say that. It's not our place to say that you went to you said hopefully nothing was too much of it. No, it wasn't anything. It was great. This is what we wanted for. I mean, who are we to say anything? Yeah. I mean, we're trying to understand more, right? I mean, that's a big part here is like we also are trying to understand more professionally and personally and as a friend and so it's been really, really insightful and great talking to you today about all of this. at least on my end, I've learned a lot,
Mhm.
and you've already taught me a lot over the years, but especially that first year we had met. But I know I was writing down a couple notes of like, wow, this is pretty cool. So thank you.
Again, I appreciate you guys for having me. And also, I don't know if I said this earlier, but I really just want every white person to understand, or every person that's not black to understand. Nobody's making you feel bad. Nobody wants you to feel bad. Nobody's like blaming you for anything. Your first reaction shouldn't be, "Oh, I feel bad." Don't feel bad. Nobody wants you to feel bad. We want you to be informed. You know, we want you to understand. You don't like, we don't, because if you feel bad, that feeling will pass, or that feeling will manifest into something else that's might be way more detrimental than the initial feeling was, right? Don't feel bad. Feel empathy. Feel cheated that people before you were so beside themselves to teach you a certain way to react, instead of you instead of you like really like learning how to react on your own. You know what I mean? Or instead of adopting the way that you react to certain things, instead of like saying, no, you need to do this, no, you need to do that. You know, I would feel cheated. You know, I would feel cheated out. Somebody took a possible relationship away from me, took a possible friendship away from me. You know, some of us might have needed that person when we were younger to like talk to, and because they didn't look like us, our parents were like, "Oh no, you better not hang around them." You know what I'm saying? It's on both sides too. I'll be completely honest and say it's on both sides, and it's just, but for one side is more out of protection than the other. You know, it comes from, they both will say it's out of protection, but one side specifically is really out of protection. We don't want you to die. The other side is like, I don't want you to be influenced by that. The other side is, I don't want you to die. You know, those are completely different things. You know, so like feel cheated. Don't feel so angry, because that'll turn into something else too. But feel like you missed a whole section of your life because of someone else's judgment, and go and take that section of your life back. Go take your life back. Go take your reaction back. Go take your emotions back, because you deserve every last bit of that. You know what I mean? You deserve to have those experiences. You deserve to have those relationships. You don't know who's gonna like be the next person who's gonna like make your career go to the next level, or you don't know what the next thing is gonna be. So why would you cut people out based on what you know, what you think you know? You know what I mean? Not saying all black people are happy sunshine. They're bad people in the world, just like there are good people in the world, right? But we won't know unless we establish that relationship and really get to know people. Who knows what a bad person is? You know what I mean? Unless we establish that in the first place.
Yeah.
Because we all have friends who are like, oh, they're cool with me. They love me, but I don't know what happens when they go over there. Because when they go over there, they get upset, they get angry, whatever. But when they come around me, they're happy. They're good with me. You know, it's the same sort of thing. It's the same sort of thing. So, yeah.
Man. Hey, before we wrap up here, for people who are inspired by what you have to say, for people who are interested in the work that you do, where can they find you?
You can find me anywhere on the interwebs at Smart Boy Beatz. Let me move out the way so you can see that right there. That's me. Smart Boy Beatz with a Z. Every Tuesday night, I host a show called PWR Baseline, or the Baseline, powered by Patchwork Studios here in Atlanta. But because of the COVID-19, I've been doing it from my home. But that's a show where producers and songwriters can submit their music. If you guys are interested, you can go to smartboybeats.com and get more information on that. But yeah, everything on the internet is smartboybeats.com, or smartboybeats with a Z. If you guys, like they were saying earlier, I sort of had a hand in producing some of the music for their opening credits. I've also produced music for I've composed percussion books before, so hey, holla at me. I compose like music for shows and indoor groups, and yeah. So if anybody needs, I try to do all of it. Like I kill myself sometimes trying to do all of it, but I try to do the whole gambit. It's not just like I make hip hop music or I make this type of music or I make country music or whatever. I span the gambit, and thankfully I'm glad for my education that I can do that. So
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, we're grateful to have you today. I know we've said this like 30 times now, but it's just been great. And
It
I
has.
think anybody who really listens, I think will just get a ton out of this. So thanks again.
yeah, man, thank you. Man,
Thank you.
Thank you guys for really listening. And thank you, anybody who's watching this, for really listening, because that's all we need. We need you to really listen.
Absolutely. Cool.
Yes.
So yeah, you can check out Smart Boy Beatz every Tuesday. We'll be back on Friday with our normal design details. We've got a special episode coming up, but definitely check out Smart Boy Beatz. From all of us here, thanks for listening. We'll catch you on Friday.
Take care.
Bye.
See y'all.